Um, First thing is approval of minutes of November 19th.
I
Motion
move
to
we
approve.
approve the meeting
Second.
notes.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is additions to the agenda. Are there any?
I have one item. I had a call this morning from Bianca, upset about the plowing in Railroad Square.
Uh-huh.
That she said they're not doing a good job of plowing and they're covering up the drains and clogging them. And so I said that I would put it on the agenda to have someone take a little more attention Railroad Square.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with
Yeah.
Chapel Street and
Yeah.
River Road, so I don't have any
Yeah.
fuss about that. But, and she said she's not the only one that's disgruntled about Railroad Square, so if you could take that to our highway
I'll
department,
bring it up to
please,
them. I
Gordon.
know opening drains and
Yeah.
things. I mean, this was a 48-hour storm, and normally
Yeah.
they would do work after
Okay.
the thing as far as doing drainage and things, so I will let her
Thank
know. I
you.
know also we've had to move people around the plow routes and things because of vacancies. Okay, so
So is that an additional agenda, or you want to just
Or
call
not,
it
just a communication, I think.
Communication then? Does that work for you?
Yeah,
As a
that's fine.
communication? Yeah.
Just that I made the comment and then he'll do something with that. That's all I needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So no additions to the agenda?
no
then?
additions agenda. Any additions?
Nope.
Okay, so we have communications. We have had a couple of storms. We've had winter since we last met, and but generally we got through pretty challenging heavy snow events. A couple of ambulance calls during the middle of the storm, which we had people respond to with their plow trucks and helped get people to the hospital, which is primary concern
Great.
during these things. And so that's all I had. Public comments, any public comments? So then, budget and capital project reviews. I think I printed you off just copies of our two budgets, and we can quickly go through them. We will start our budget season in January. But if just as a we're about 5 months through the budget season. We have two budgets. One is the capital budget, which starts with major government funds. That's the smaller one with the big numbers. And those programs can roll over from year to year. And some of these projects we have finished. So, and some of them we're still going on. So we'll need to close some of these things, like the directional signs and the reevaluation. The senior vans have all been done. The town planning process is still going, and there's about 13. So what you have is the carryover balance day of the town plan, and then there's a $10,000 appropriation for this year, so there's $13,000 in that planning budget. So that will allow the Planning and Zoning Commission to hire planners and enact regulation changes that are necessary to meet the potential of the town plan. Then we have next big one is we do get some town clerk funds for restoring and archiving town records. And I just thought we'd go over all these things just so everybody knows what all the stuff that's going on and where we're sort of at with these things. Town buildings, that covers all the buildings besides the school. And our big one, of course, was renovating the the, doing the West Cornwall Firehouse. So we still owe Jim Terrell Construction about $60,000 out of that line, so there is some money there, and we do need to hire, the Board of Finance requested their last meeting that we hire someone to prioritize the work that's necessary, especially on this building, which is a treasure to the town, but it also has some 100-year-old problems that need to be addressed.
Question, so I'm reading
Yes.
this correctly. On the first page, under town building,
Yes,
come up to a total of 101 plus.
yes,
And then the line below that is 118.
okay?
Does that mean that in between the difference is a surplus that wasn't spent?
No, that means just for that, the 118 totals all
of
those,
this.
all the categories.
All those little things above
Yeah,
it?
the
Oh, okay.
2,000, the 13,000. all
Oh,
those.
okay,
So,
thank you. Yep,
Yeah, so we do need
yep.
to tidy up some of those projects that are finished. Next page, we have school capital projects. You can see they've been working on doing carpeting, Chromebooks, installing doors, planting an orchard. So the school does a lot of things to keep it up in good condition. Fire department, equipment repair, a lot of that will go away with the installation of a generator in Cornwall Bridge. Perpetual truck fund, there's
Yep,
$260,000 in there, as fire trucks are expensive items, and we put in $80,000 a year towards that amount. We see we have a big balance in the West Cornwall wastewater management study. That's mostly because the grant that was used, to pay Steve McDonald, came from the COG, and we didn't have to pay for it directly. Hammond Beach, the docks, we still have $582 for that. We are waiting for a plaque to honor the Gates family, because they gave a lot of the money we used was from their bequests. Not much money in highway buildings, but
$6.32
that
expense.
gets us about a pane of glass. And that's about
What
it.
is that?
No, that's just what was left over from when we did some major
Oh.
work. So again, we can close that out.
Okay.
We do have money set aside for highway equipment. Our next big thing is going to be a truck, big truck, which will probably run us about close to $200,000.
Okay.
Road improvement, that's quite a bit of money left in there, but we use about $150,000 a year for sealing roads and $150 for paving. So that's on page 3, where there's still $262,000.
What does GOB mean?
Yeah, so that's GOB, is general obligation bond.
Oh, okay.
And so there is still in that, so that's it's almost identical numbers, but the 265 is for roads and the 260 is for bridges and culverts.
Yep,
And
okay.
some of that will go away with the final bills for Lake Road. We do have 17,000, almost 18 in hydrants, which we have a couple of those that need to be replaced and repaired. And then we have, again, $150,000 left for sealing roads in the spring. So the stuff at the top is just bridges, and the 150 at the bottom is roads. So we'll use that to seal roads in the spring.
Okay.
And then we have transfer station upgrade, sanitation equipment. And we have some little we have $15,000 of undesignated money, unallocated money, that's just interest earned by having this money set aside. So that's sort of where we're at. We're in good shape. We've got projects, we've got some money to finish what we plan to do. And that's that. This bigger document is all the little lines that go up to make the town budget. The first page deals with income. And you can see there's all sorts of different sources of income, from landfill receipts to planning and zoning fees. The big ones are the property current levy. Property taxes are far and away the biggest source of revenue for the town, and we're in good shape, having collected 56% of that halfway through the year. So, and then it keeps on going. Other little small pots of money that come in from the state, and then
We get Indian casino funds?
We do. We get, how much do we get? 7,000?
4,000,
Oh, it's down to 4,000.
$4,434.
Bad year at the slot machines. Yeah, we used to get about 12,000. Then it's been shrinking as, I guess, the revenues
That's interesting.
from this. Of course, most of it goes to the state and to the towns that are directly impacted
Right,
by
right.
the casinos. And we get our little share. The next, you go to page 3, and this is the expense line, all the little lines that add up to the town budget, and how far we are through there. So you can say, like the Board of Selectmen, most of that's salaries, and we're about 42% through that. So we want to be about 40% through our expenditures, because we're a little less than half of the year. And so we track this. Again, it's more critical as it gets closer to the end of the year, but we say like Hammond Beach, page 4, has some money left over, but that's to run it to start next year, because we start in June and the new fiscal year doesn't start till July 1st.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. I did go down there and meet with the people from HVA last week. Had a nice little tour with them. They thought it looked great.
Great.
The new docks still look good. And again, the highway budget will be in play the next couple of months with all the road work. And it's all, for you to take home and look at. Some things are done on a weekly basis, some expenses are on a monthly or biannual basis, and some things are on an accrual basis. And that's just where we're at with the budget. At this point, there's no major problems.
Good.
So, hope that continues. But I thought that sort of gives us an overview where we're at financially, so we're in decent shape. So anything else on that? I just thought it's important when we start, just
No,
to
that's helpful. Thank you.
let us know where we're at. Goals for the new term. We don't have to write everything out tonight, but I thought we could put some ideas on the table and then craft a document over the next couple of meetings to figure out where we're at. At some point, maybe I'll get last year's when we get finished, just to compare it, see what we did. But I don't know what your thoughts are. I have a lot of thoughts,
A
but
lot of thoughts too.
good. Well, take it away.
Well, like I said in the last meeting, I kind of want to focus on action points at this juncture. I feel like listening to the planning and zoning 10-year plan and things that people have been saying, I feel like now we have to figure out sort of how to act on some of those ideas. And so I have been doing some research, and I brought this up at the end of the last meeting. It wasn't in our official meeting, but it was interesting what Ned Lamont's doing in Fairfield County with this affordable housing task force, which was comprised of people, I believe, pro and con. And what they did was they were tasked with researching viable affordable housing for that particular region in Fairfield County, which was very specific. It was very densely populated. There wasn't a lot of room for this type of housing, and so they were tasked with that specific question: how do you find affordable housing for this area? And I thought that was so interesting and so unique to the region, and I was thinking, could we do something similar? I know you had suggested a forum per se, but something that sort of has an action item. So people, I kind of like the septic committee idea. That committee looked around, saw different ideas for the septic, and I think that could be an interesting thing for affordable housing. Have a group that knows Cornwall, that knows its needs and knows, its challenges. And if you had people from all different angles, you could maybe come up with ideas that were good for everybody, not just the people that were very pro or against. So I don't know what your thoughts about going about that, but I liked that idea because it was so uniquely specific to the region that they were addressing. It wasn't just this big question of affordable housing. It was affordable housing for this region.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, of course, housing is on the top of my list, as a matter of fact, right there. And the idea of, I think, of a task force or focusing on this. I mean, to me, the housing, employment have been the top things for a while, and they're related as far as rebuilding the town and getting more people here. And I think those are probably our two goals last time or 2 years ago. And again, it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
But I think it's important to stay focused on some of the big things. And there's things we have to do statutorily. We have to take care of the roads, the bridges, and things like that. So those and the buildings, we're in charge of. So that's also on my list. But I think also long-term, big issue things, housing, employment opportunities, clearly were outlined in the survey that was put out around the town plan. Those were right up at the top, and it's a tough nut to crack. I did talk to Maggie Cooley, and they have some initiatives from the Cornwall Housing Corporation that they want to pursue and think about. So maybe the first thing to do is maybe have a joint meeting with them and broach some ideas, as the town has designated them before my time as the town's housing. They're not an authority, but they're a housing agent. So I think that's important. And then again, it's a lot of nuts and bolts stuff that takes a lot of time, but they do have some ideas on action. So maybe that would be one of our doable things, is to meet with them and come up with some plans, and a joint meeting would be good early in the new session.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think what can we do as the Board of Selectmen to help and promote these ideas and these people that are working hard to come up with solutions within our our capacity.
Right, and some of it is also just going to meetings and saying we have broad authority, and we think this is important. So again, maybe we can work on that. Support, and I think part of the thing too is realizing that there's a real lack of rental housing in town, and there are steps that can be taken to allow things to happen in Cornwall that are allowed in other places.
Right.
And I think with P&Z gets that, and now again they have 76 action points on their thing, and so the question is which ones come first.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
encouraging them, and I think they are on that as far as tackling some of the housing stuff first. Again, just every month I meet people that would like to live here. That
Yeah.
would enrich our town and contribute to our town. But for whatever reason, there's just not a surplus of housing here anymore, you know. And
Yeah.
it's funny because we are dissimilar to Fairfield, but we're similar in some ways. But I spent a little time down there on business, and you can see even in the middle of New Canaan, there's apartment complexes, and that's probably the highest real estate value in the state, but they do have a mix of housing, which means there are kids on the sides, kids and families in the community. Their basketball hoops in the backyards. So, you know, it's
Well, I think they're responding to the change in the family as it stands now. I think people are not getting married as, I mean, I don't know factually if this is true, but at least in my circle, people aren't getting married very young, and they're not committing to buying houses very young. And so you see these sort of alternatives to traditional housing popping up.
right.
There was, this story in Oregon where these old houses were being converted to multi-apartment units to better serve the population that lived there, which was sort of younger families that didn't want to buy for whatever reason. And so I think what you saw in New Canaan was probably a response to that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe even. Yeah, and I know P&Z has to elect a chair at their next meeting, so maybe even invite whoever that is to this meeting and just talk about, again, just have a special meeting, open to the public, everybody's welcome to come, but just to brainstorm on how we might move things forward on that
Yeah.
early in the new year, I think would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so those are my, top of the three things. Four things, P&Z regulations, working on, we have a bunch of tasks we're supposed to do on the plan of conservation development, which supplement some of these things. Working with the housing corporation.
And in conjunction, I also was thinking, I was sort of brainstorming on an idea of like, we have the Conservation Trust, which does such a good job at preserving like the natural beauty of Cornwall. And I was kind of thinking like, why couldn't there be sort of a parallel group for business development in terms of like a privately funded, grant-based, business development group that, like if a young entrepreneur came to town and said, listen, I really want to renovate this building, but I don't have the funds to do it. It'd be cool to see if that's a possibility for our population. Are there people in Cornwall that could be interested in creating some sort of foundation that gave grants to small businesses or young businesses that wanted to come to Cornwall? To help with things like renovation or buying, whatever they need for their business or subsidizing it. That was sort of an idea I had to promote businesses coming to Cornwall.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I don't know if that's an interesting
Sounds
idea.
positive.
Right.
You need the funding.
Well, right, I know, but I wonder if there's a capacity for us to look into, reaching out to people and seeing if people are interested in doing this. Because they certainly were for the Conservation Trust.
Yeah.
So there might be somebody out there that wants to do it.
And just watching this right now.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never
I mean,
know.
the electric bike guy said he watched the videos and he got inspired to start up his business in Cornwall. So
Right. I
there you
mean,
go.
it's just an idea. I mean,
It's
I
a great
think,
idea. Because I mean, the Norfolk Foundation helped get that hub thing going. So
exactly.
you know, again, that's a little broader. It's more a community trust than just a conservation trust thing. So
Right. But it could be an interesting talking point as of now.
right, yeah.
I know, speaking with Janet Sanders of the Economic Development Commission, she feels very strongly that we should consider having a paid employee who actually, not full-time, part-time, focused on bringing economic development to the forefront. And it does require funding.
It does. It does.
But I would think, approached the right way, there are a few deep pockets in town that might be tapped. It's a possibility. I don't think it's an impossibility.
Right.
And I think it ties in very much with a flexible housing
Agreed.
arrangement, because we do need to attract more young
Right.
people, more people who are willing to start a business
Agreed.
and start it here. And the people that I work with commercially, once they get up here, it's heaven. You know, it's such a different aspect of living than they've been used to.
Right, and that's what I feel like is so interesting about our whole conundrum that we find ourselves in. I feel like we're sitting on so much potential.
Yeah.
And so I agree that all these things are interconnected. Housing, bringing businesses here, it all has to be done concurrently. But yeah, I mean, I hear the same thing. And I know firsthand, because if I didn't have a place to live, I wouldn't be here. So I understand that 100%.
Now, how did you get your place to live?
I kicked my siblings out and took over the family.
Oh, a family house.
house.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
But if they watch that, you're invited in the summer.
You still got along. That's good.
Yeah.
So other things connected, we do have the West Cornwall wastewater project, which will be
That
Coming
meets
up
again
for a
next
vote.
Tuesday.
meets
A
again
week
next
from
Tuesday.
today.
We'll be heading for a vote in the spring for the whole deal. So that will take a little time and interest to keep on getting that in good shape for the town to consider. So that's another thing, that's a specific thing that's out there on a time schedule. Long-term, short-term goal is that's been out there for a while too, is the whole internet connectivity thing. You have seen other towns are doing some steps. Nobody's broken through at this point, but there is different approaches being done, and I'll keep you up to date on those. If there are meetings and organizational things that happen with that. So that's definitely, it's easy to get bogged down in part of that, but I was in a neighboring town, and could have been parts of Cornwall, but there's no service in any part of town, and that's going to be a problem if it's worse than where we are right now. We want to improve, not improve. So then another thing we kicked around, which was not fiber optics, but just setting up a communication between the board and the community a little more than we have now. I felt like events as different as the past storm and the Sedgwick event or the tree lighting all could use and they're all special in their own way, could use more, we could use more publicity on these things, because sometimes there's so many ways to,
So I
to
can
catch
update you on
people's-
that a little bit.
yeah.
So I have a presentation that's almost done. My life has been a little crazy recently, but I will present to you an idea about creating a newsletter from the Board of Selectmen that does precisely that, communicates to the public, and it's from the board as a whole. I had asked the website committee if we could potentially use the email info@cornwallct.org, because that's our website as it stands. They felt that they wanted to maintain their autonomy, and so we would have to look into using another domain, which is fine. I think making another one kind of complicates things, but it is what it is. And so I know that you don't want to be, I think Cornwall selectmen at Opt Online, if you use that, you would get replies to your email address. So there would be a small cost involved, because we would have to create another email address. So it could be like info@townofcornwallct.com or something like that.
Or can we tap on to what we already have?
We
So
could,
we
but
do
you would have to be
CWR.
okay with, I could see if I could do a do not reply, if you've ever
Yeah.
gotten email addresses
Or
like
it's
that.
no big, I mean, we get a lot of emails here already, which is fine.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that, as long as
Okay.
people don't think it's gonna happen 24/7.
Right, so if you're okay with that, then I would just use your email address, because
Right.
that's the simplest. And it's really easy to set up, and actually, as it stands, because we're probably going to be under 2,000 email addresses, we can actually do it for free to begin with. Once you get over a certain number of subscribers, it costs money to maintain. It's a minimal cost. That'll all be in my presentation, but that's totally doable and pretty quickly.
I know Kent and some of the other towns do have something that works pretty well, I think.
So in the next board meeting, you'll see I printed out a bunch of, I got the idea actually from Washington. They do that, and they do it every Friday, which I don't think we need to do. But what they do is it comes from the Board of Selectmen, and it says what's up in Washington, and it basically highlights events. And you could even go further, and you could highlight a Cornwall person, and do a little blurb on somebody interesting in Cornwall that's doing something cool for the town, or is a business owner, or whatever. And then if we were working on something that needed information flow, like the septic vote or something along those lines, you could actually write what you wanted to write to the people of Cornwall. And it's a subscriber-based system, so if somebody doesn't want to be on it, they don't have to be on it.
Right. So they'd have to sign up for it, basically.
Right, so the beginning part would be a little bit of work, getting the word out. You could use the Cornwall group email forum that exists now on Google Groups, and just send out an email, follow this link, subscribe. And I have a feeling that people would really get into it, having been on the Cornwall Google Groups. I think people are interested, and they want to know what's going on, and they want information flow. And so I don't think that would be a challenge to get people involved.
Yeah, and again, I think if we just set that as a goal for the year to get
Yeah.
something up and running, I see that being,
But I wanted a little background that it's doable.
it's doable. Try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got big communications, we got little communications. Then, we're gonna keep on with our bridges and buildings. And another whole category is supporting first responders. We had a public listening session with Congressman Johanna Hayes last Monday up in Falls Village, which was very good. There were representatives probably from a half dozen nearby departments, ambulance and fire, all talking about the challenges of volunteer first responders in the area at this time. Especially the training requirements are becoming increasingly burdensome and hard for the young people who aren't here to take. So, I mean, so anyway, I think one of the things I was talking to the other selectmen about is whether the Council of Governments is going to do a study and make some recommendations on, because this is like a regional problem. So if we can, then have some recommendations to our legislators and do that kind of thing. So I think that's a key group for all these towns, and they're under pressure. So we need to work on that.
Is it also that if you're young and you have a full-time job, you can't do the training? Is that sort of
Well,
the
that's
idea?
part of the problem. Right now, and it depends on what level. I mean, that's not exclusively the problem, because you can participate and just do executive work. You don't have to. You don't have to be trained at the top levels of fire or EMS,
Right.
but to be at the top levels of those are several hundred hours of training over probably 3 days a week for 4 or 5 months. So that's a big
It's a big commitment of
That
It's a
time.
big commitment. So, and one of the things, again, it's a token thing, but we do give a service incentive program for our volunteers, and we haven't adjusted that rate in probably 10 or 15 years. So, I mean, again, it's just a token amount, but again, a bigger token is better than a smaller token probably. So that's a small thing we can do, but I think, again, listening to what the problems are, because they are specific and not well publicized, I think is a big deal. And again, that's not a overnight easy solution thing, but I think it should be a priority. And then, again, another thing that we do is just make sure our Cornwall safety net is in place with social services, because we've had an increased workload over the last several years, and I don't see that diminishing with the pressure that people are under nowadays. And one thing I did read somewhere that said the best thing communities can do when they talk about the stress is make sure there's good socialization and socializing. And we do have a lot of events in town, and that's really important to keep them going, whether it's the library, the child center, senior dinners, variety show, whatever else, just having, and that's one thing the town does, donate money and support that socialization is a really important thing for people, especially in a rural area where people can get isolated.
Yeah, and I think on that note, I think there's room to expand on that, especially in the summers. I think some of our neighboring towns do a really good job with their summer concert series and things like that, because you're reaching sort of a broader audience, and there's no, New Yorkers and second homeowners. It sort of brings everybody together. So I'd love to, research and look into what else we could add to that, because I do think that's really important.
I thought of that you just try a concert on the green, you're already doing some stuff up at the lake.
Yeah.
But just have another event, and even if 50 people come, in my mind, that's a success.
And you could even incorporate local vendors,
Right.
of food, and they can set up little booths, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be big, but
Right.
that's sort of, because I also think that ties in every demographic. If you get music that's appealing to
Well,
everybody.
You think of the 275th party when we had half the town here, and it was great. So, I mean, we don't have to do it on that scale, but people will come.
Well, this weekend, the talent show, variety show, was oversold. There weren't
That's
seats.
great.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic. And then Cornwall Reads Cornwall was quite nicely done
Right.
as well. So that was a very full weekend, starting with the Christmas tree lighting
It's great.
Yeah,
on Friday night.
yeah, but I think that's real important. Keep those things going, and we're lucky to be able to host those kind of variety of things.
Yeah, that's fun.
So I will try to, and we can, again, we don't have to decide everything this
No.
month, and we can put, and anything else we think of at the end of this, but that at least gives us a focus, so we can look at 6 months, did we do anything on housing? Have we gotten anywhere on our communications? I think it's important to have goals, and there will be stuff we can't anticipate that will come in front of the board, but at least this tells us at this point what do we think is important when we do things. So I'll work on something there for next meeting. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Good.
I'm happy with that.
That's good. Okay, so appointments, we don't have anything finalized on that yet. We do have a list after our last meeting, and we did get some interest, but we don't have anything. I think people are still recovering from Thanksgiving and this snowstorm.
Well, Janet Sanders had written in a note that she really wanted to appoint those two
Yeah, but normally the
for the Economic Development Council.
Yeah, but the development committee weighs the candidates, and then they recommend to us, so we can.
Oh, she did that. We got that
So-
email from her.
Well, I don't think the whole committee has met on that,
Oh, okay.
so I thought we'd wait
Well,
till
that'll be
after
next
that.
Tuesday morning,
Yeah,
I guess.
see what they say. Yeah, so we do have a couple of candidates there. We did get something today from
From a Sharon resident.
Sharon resident.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yep, and there is allegiance on the west bank of the Housatonic River, which is great. We have fire people, EMS people on the west bank. And we did appoint Bob Ensign from the bike shop who lives in Sharon to represent the town. So but a lot of these things, you have to be a Cornwall resident or a Cornwall elector to actually do things.
So the procedure is that the committee sends us a formal recommendation.
Yeah, but that's what's happened in the past. So
Okay.
that other members can have their 2 cents
Okay.
on things. So,
Well, I think that's certainly true for the economic development, but is it also true for the conservation group?
no.
Because
But
those
again,
are the
if-
two groups she was interested in, this woman that wrote to us today.
for that particular thing, I think, what's the word, Joyce? Joyce looked some of this stuff up.
You don't have to be an elector to be on the Conservation Commission.
You do?
Okay.
You don't.
You don't, but you
No.
do have
So-
You
to.
do on the economic
Yeah.
development.
So that was gonna be my recommendation, that we, maybe, would that be Pat Mulberry to whom we should
Right.
introduce her?
Maybe we could send him the resume. I haven't read
That's
it
what
yet.
I would recommend we do,
Okay,
because it's so
Yeah.
nice to have somebody volunteer with such enthusiasm,
Yes.
and she wants to do this. I think we should take advantage, and she seems to be
Right.
knowledgeable.
Yes,
the
she
other thing
does.
too is, there's no reason that somebody can't participate with the economic development group without being on the thing. There's plenty of work to be done, and they can say, you can do stuff. You don't have
Yeah.
to be a commissioner to do it. If you have certain skills, she's
Yes, she has.
She has a lot of skills.
a lot of skills,
Yeah.
which we could
Yeah,
use skills. Okay, so let me,
But since she's got all this enthusiasm,
Yeah, I
I'd
agree.
like her
Right.
to be on something where she doesn't feel a limitation like she would on economic development. If the conservation
Yeah.
group is open, or even, I would think HVA would welcome her.
yeah,
They do a lot with, water conservation and plant development. Those are the two, I was thinking about this because I was so excited with her enthusiasm. And I said, we need to capitalize on this.
Well, yeah, and she seems very passionate, so.
Yeah.
okay. So anything else on that? So we'll work on that.
Okay.
And I'll talk to some of the chairs of those committees once they get reappointed.
So is there anything else we should be doing on these committee
No,
appointments?
we're just, if you think of people, you can suggest people or whatever, but I think we've got, there's a couple of people that,
And does
Like
Janet
so.
know that the committee needs to come with the proposal?
no, but I'll tell her,
Okay.
I'll tell her at
Great.
the meeting. Okay, so job description, interview schedules, we've worked up drafts of employment, and we have three things. We have we have an updated employment application, which lists experiences, references. So anything, do you have that? Any thoughts on that?
I was okay with that.
So,
Some
This is
thoughts.
the application for
Yeah.
employment we're speaking about?
it's pretty general.
Yeah.
So the amount of questions you ask has been reduced. But that's all right. We can still figure out who the best candidates are. Okay, so why don't we just say I'll make a motion we adopt this new application for employment. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have the Highway Public Works.
Qualifications and competencies?
Yeah, we have a bunch of different things for that. So let's start with qualifications and competencies. Are there any thoughts on all
There were
this?
2 pages on that.
This is pretty,
This seems fine and Jim approves.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, we took this from several other towns and updated ours. Have to be able to lift up to 94 pounds.
Okay.
I'm not applying.
Why 94?
I think that's set by some government thing, that you're not supposed to
Okay.
lift more than that, but you have to lift
Interesting.
up to it. So a lot of these things are set. And the big thing is, they have to have a commercial driver's license, which not everybody has, because this is basically, primary job is driving trucks. So any other thoughts on that, or the job description? Or the posting?
Is this just a typo under 9.9 under
Probably not.
qualifications? Special skill, but it's SK8.
Oh yeah, I noticed
LL?
that too.
I didn't know if that was a secret code or if that was supposed to be an
That's
I.
SK, yeah. No,
I think it's
SKI?
I think that's a
Okay,
a
thing.
typo.
fine.
Must be-
I wasn't being critical. I thought maybe it's something special I don't
must
know
be.
about.
Yeah, okay, so we'll change that. There's also just some awkward thing that I probably wrote, but it says must be able to command and hear verbal instructions. I'm not sure what that actually means, but,
Must be able to command them.
it probably must be able to follow commands or something like that.
Well, if
Command.
somebody can't hear verbal instructions, can they command sign language? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we'll probably check that out and see.
I would check that.
Because it's hard to, yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of hearing you have to have in order to be able to pass your CDL.
Oh, okay, I see.
So those, any other thoughts on the highway
No,
things?
doesn't
Yeah, I
sound
would
like the
just-
job I'll be applying for,
No,
I'll
me
tell you.
neither. I would be
That's it.
terrible. I would just look at that line, of which 1 year shall involve a special skill in equipment or manual operation. Is it one skill in,
Right.
or is it special skills? I mean, that's just grammar, but I don't know what the intent was there.
In lieu thereof. So basically that's, they have to have a certain amount of experience in equipment as
Right.
well as manual labor.
Right.
Okay,
I mean, I'm fine with the content.
right. I think it may not
Pretty
be
thorough.
perfect, but I think it's obvious what
Yes.
is implied. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we adopt these job specifications for the highway maintainer.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. So we put it in the Lakeville Journal, we think.
Yeah.
We
didn't
have
get the
gotten
journal,
some
so-
interest already. So I would propose that we try to get some interviews in this ready before the holidays, if we can.
Yeah.
Probably, who's got a calendar?
I do. I have one open.
So tonight is the 3rd, next week's the 10th, so perhaps, yeah, do you have certain afternoons, certain evenings that this would be a special meeting? Is there any work constraints? Or what, we don't need to know that now, but let's just think. of
Talking
ne-
about next
Well,
week?
could I
Probably-
email Joyce
yeah.
possibilities?
So we're thinking probably the earliest would be like Thursday of next week, and probably a little bit on the next, like Thursday, the following Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, that week is better for me.
The following week?
16th through the 20th.
Okay.
But Joyce, I'll email you.
Yeah, send us some specifics, so it won't be in the next couple days, but maybe next week or the week afterwards.
Well, Thursday after 3 works for me, but
Yeah.
not before.
Great, well, just send
And the
me,
week so you want me to send you a note or something?
yeah, just send us an email on what,
Okay.
because this would be a special
Well, so you're
meeting.
really thinking about the week of the 16th?
Yeah, probably.
So
and-
would
and
these
maybe an
people be
afternoon.
interviewed by Jim Bannicky first, and then he would make a
Well,
recommendation?
what we would do is
or-
take a look, I would look through their resumes with Jim to make sure they meet our specifications.
Okay.
And if we have people that look like they're good, we would interview them. We would try to interview 3 qualified candidates, if we have 3. And if we don't have 3, then we interview who we have. Because, I mean, it'd be interesting, because usually we get, a good pool, but it's kind of a strange time of year for job changing, and it's a tighter labor market than it has been in the last several years. So we'll just see who's there. Okay?
Well, I would certainly recommend that if we can, we do it the week of the 16th.
Right. And I
Because
propose-
the 2 weeks after
Yeah,
that,
that's
forget.
gonna be
I mean,
done.
Right. I don't propose we do this
Okay.
Christmas Eve with candlelight and
Okay.
carols and stuff. Yeah. We'll try to, yeah, we'll get who we can the week of the 16th. And then if we're happy with that, we'll make a decision. If we're not happy, we can
Yeah.
let it ride for a while.
Okay.
Okay? Good. So then, we have a draft of doing the possible job of trying to replace Joyce. So, any thoughts on this? We tried to put everything down we could think of. I think,
That's the
I have a couple of
administrative.
suggestions.
yeah, there's Sure, go ahead.
All right, so for the second paragraph, I thought of something more along the lines of, assistant is expected to be proficient in basic computer skills, including Microsoft Office, as well as be comfortable with the web and social platforms. So that doesn't constrain us to anybody, but it opens us up to people who may have, different technical skills, which could be down the line beneficial for this office. And then, so then I broke up that paragraph, and the paragraph after would read, communication and interpersonal relationship skills, as well as the ability to be discreet and confidential, are required.
Okay?
I don't know what you think, Joyce, having actually lived it.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Because the world's changing, so it makes it more open to,
Yeah,
Right.
and Microsoft Office just like allows us to, that means that the person knows Outlook, knows Word, knows Excel, knows PowerPoint, all the basic sort of Office
yeah.
things you need to know. So, I don't know what you guys think, but,
That's fine.
okay. Do you want me to send that to you?
Okay, any other thoughts?
My thought is Joyce does a lot.
Yes.
One thing I thought about adding, building duties, I mean, keeping track of those front steps, like I put sand and salt on it tonight. I mean, you don't want to make it responsible for it, because there's
Right.
people on coming for the weekend,
Yeah.
but just, an awareness of or something.
Awareness of building conditions, so, what was it, yesterday we were out of, there was
Didn't have any
no
furnace.
heat, so,
Oh,
you
really?
know, that was part of our
So
excitement
would you put
yesterday.
that under other duties?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
awareness
good
of
idea.
conditions or, yeah. Right,
And resolutions, I mean, more than just saying, yeah, it's there. Do something about it.
right,
And important things like when somebody walks in after a busy weekend at the town hall and says, "Did anyone find my hat?" And you knew exactly where it was.
right. Water the plants. Redirect citizen inquiries. Good.
Do you find you're still using a fax machine?
Very seldom.
Yeah, that's
There's a couple of
happened in our
businesses
office
that,
too.
yeah, they fax
Very
their
seldom.
invoices all the time, but, yeah, it's very.
It's amazing
less
how
and
little
less.
mail we get. I mean, first class mail, the only thing we really get is pistols and gun purchases, and there's not, and occasionally like official greetings from state officials on nice stationery, but yeah, very little of that, so we should, yeah. No. Others are much more busy.
Are you comfortable with this, having lived it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we put it anywhere that the holidays and benefits are described in the town personnel policy?
Oh yeah, it's in the first paragraph.
Oh, good. All right, great. Yeah.
I just sent you the edit, so you have it in your email.
Okay, so the,
Actually, it's a little more than just the 24 hours a week, because it's plus evening meetings, I guess you could put in, because it's a little more than just
Right.
office hours.
yeah. Yeah. So then the thought would be if, again, if we get a huge amount of people applying, we'll go early. If not, we'd probably go, well, we'll see who shows up. If we have people before the holidays, we'll interview. And if we feel we need to keep going, we'll go and, you know, right after the first of the year, we'll have some more interviews, right?
Yeah, I
See
definitely
what-
think to find the best person, not to rush it.
Yeah. So, good. All right, so anyway, we'll see. It is, yeah, because everybody's sort of thinking other thoughts at this point in time, but we already have had people come and again, talk to Joyce saying, what's it really like? Tell me the real story. All right, so anyway, so we'll proceed with that, and again, if we may interview them on the same schedule, or it may take a little longer to get.
So you want to accept this with Marina's additions?
Yes,
Then I can send it to anybody who asks then.
great. Okay, so I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Right?
Aye. Okay. So that's it. Except for public comment. Public.
Yes, I'd like to talk, you've done the road, the bridges already, and there's still some detour signs up.
Right.
And if they could be removed, because I think they're getting confusing for people. I don't
Yeah.
know whether,
Yep, I think we are.
Good suggestion.
That has been mentioned.
well, I just
Yeah.
see it every time I drive
Yeah.
home.
You get lost?
Uh,
Detour to where? Yep. Get people going, that's part of our economic development. Have people keep on going around in circles
Not in the
eventually.
business district. You gotta have them detour down to the business district.
Down to the district.
And also, how is fiber optic being worked on at all to get that? Because that's one of the biggest things. 5G, I don't trust, but
Yeah.
as working on a website and everything, 5G I don't trust. But fiber optic, there is fiber optic in West Cornwall from what I've heard.
Yes, it's fiber optic going right past here, so, yeah. So there are other towns that are looking at a community-wide basis, and there are some plans, I gotta talk to Janet, but there is some plans to open up something down in West Cornwall, as like a little business hub. And then we're looking at, seeing what the other towns are gonna be doing, what they've dug up. And I think Northwest Connect is still looking at it region-wide,
Right.
so. Okay, so any other comments? All right, so that leaves us with some bills.
Okay.
That's it, right?
You quit.
That's it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Richard.
Richard.